Hey everyone, this is Angel for the PS5 with a new wallet saving story recap for those games that you want to play, but you never managed to find the extra cash for. Today we have the new PS5 exclusive, Returnal. Our story begins as Selene Vassos, a deep space scout for the Astra Command, follows an unknown signal named the White Shadow to the forbidden planet of Atropos. Shortly after entering the atmosphere, her ship Helios is struck by lightning, crash landing in the middle of the planet, losing communication with Astra. Leaving her only haven, Selene adventures into the deep jungles of the overgrown ruins, discovering another deceased Astra scout. In a shocking surprise, she discovers that the body is none other than herself. Without any logical explanation, Selene takes her sidearm and goes for the hunt of the unknown White Shadow signal, unfortunately dying shortly after while fighting against the local fauna. At this moment, she realizes that she is back at her ship, with her body intact, starting an inexplicable, never-ending cycle of trial and error every time she dies. Multiple encounters with other versions of herself give Selene insight into her previous attempts to escape the planet while looking for the White Shadow signal. She arms herself with weapons and technology that belong to the hive mind, a long-extinct Xenotype civilization that used to inhabit the planet, pacing the loop until she discovers a familiar place, her old house. The closed basement door, the books, and portraits perfectly hanged, everything seems to be in its place just as before she departed for her mission except for one detail: a weird astronaut that appears at a distance to haunt Selene on her journey. Slowly making progress across the different ever-changing biomes of the planet, Selene learns about the conflict between the hive mind against their enemy faction, the Severed. She faces some of the fiercest leaders in combat inside the vaults they were imprisoned, and after what has felt like an eternity, Selene reaches the origin of the White Shadow signal on the highest point of the broadcast tower of the derelict citadel. After defeating the last leader of the Severed, Astra finally confirms her distress signal, rescuing her from Atropos and triumphantly returning to the Earth, where she lives a happy and peaceful life until the end of her days. But Selene won't find peace as she awakens again in Atropos 63 years later, restarting the never-ending cycle. Some elements in the loop remain the same, like the corpses of the other Selenes and the ever-haunting presence of the astronaut, but the biomes, hostiles, and her house have changed. After visiting her house repeatedly, Selene slowly recovers her memories about the hardships of the Astra recruitment, challenges of her mental health, her abusive mother Thea, the terrible car accident that paralyzed her while Selene miraculously escaped, and Helios, Selene's son. But perhaps the most important thing that she realizes is that she was responsible for destroying her ship when she was scouting the planet, leaving herself stranded in Atropos. Selene seeks answers across the ruins and the dense jungle and icy desert before she plunges into the depths of the abyssal scar, where she faces Ophion, the mightiest threat of both the hive mind and the Severed. Reaching the bottom of the pit, her memories are fully restored as she finds her old car and a giant squid-like creature that unveils the truth of what happened years ago before she departed to Atropos. A tired Selene and Helios were driving back home one night, and as she picked to change the radio station in her car, the White Shadow astronaut appeared in the middle of the bridge. Reacting as quickly as she could, Selene steered away, crashing over the guardrail, falling into the lake. As she tried to rescue Helios, the squid-like creature pulled her away from the car, leaving his son inside to drown. With this new realization, Selene returns once again to Atropos, determined to end the cycle once and for all. To gain access to her house again, Selene looks for several fragments of a sun plate scattered around the planet. With the sun plate complete and the house power reignited, Selene goes down to the basement and sits in her mother's wheelchair, recovering her old car keys and finally leaving her house behind once and for all. Selene defeats everything on her way and heads down to her car in the deepest point of the abyssal scar. She then uses the key to open it and gets teleported to an unknown location to face her mother, Thea, finally putting an end to her abuse and transforming herself into the White Shadow astronaut. Teleported again, Selene now realizes she is the cause of the fatal car accident, but this time, her sinking self swims desperately to reach the surface without any obstacles.
Helios!
And that's the complete story recap for Returnal. I know it doesn't make that much sense, especially the ending, so be sure to check out the explaining video we'll publishing soon here in the channel, or click here for more cool stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later on the B-side.